Well, welcome to another Friday night. We've been looking at anger and we've been really working at trying to become aware if we might have anger issues. And it's really because so many children in complex trauma have all kinds of anger, but in order to survive, they have to suppress it because they weren't allowed to express it. That would just lead to more pain and more trouble. So they repress it so much they disconnect from it. They're not even aware of it. They don't think they have anger issues. They've learned to be calm and cool all the time. And so in order to heal, in order to grow, it's important to begin to become aware of underlying anger that might be leaking out occasionally or in very subtle ways. But what I want to look at today is indicators that your anger might be starting to become a major problem. It's starting to get out of control. It's starting to do a lot of damage to those you love, to yourself. It's becoming a serious issue. So we've looked at some of the early indicators that you might have an anger problem. Today I want to start looking at when it becomes a serious problem. What are the indicators of that? And so just an overview, it's your outbursts become more frequent and more intense. It starts to damage your relationships and your work, and you feel unable to control it. You feel that if I let this out, I'm going to go into a black rage and I won't be able to stop it, and I'm afraid of what I'm going to do. Or you begin to realize that there's an increasing intensity in how the anger is coming out, in violence and intimidation. There's another thing that I want you to be aware of, is that an indicator that anger is a problem for you is you're going to start to see that it affects your health. So chronic anger issues where it's been repressed, or just you start to let it out and you get more and more angry and intense and violent. What they're finding, tons of research happening, and Dr. Gabor Mate has done great research in his book, When the Body Says No, and The Myth of Normal, that it starts to lead to high blood pressure, heart problems, autoimmune diseases, even cancer and diabetes. They're seeing repressed anger issues. But then it can also lead to depression, anxiety issues, and then some get diagnosed with explosive disorder issues and other mental health disorders, borderline personality disorder. So it just starts leading to mental health issues, and those you can be aware of. So to help give a context for this, let me go back to looking at healthy anger versus unhealthy anger. So I never want people to hear that anger of any kind is bad. This is not what this series is about. It is not trying to get rid of all anger. It is trying to get rid of unhealthy anger and learning how to express healthy anger. So normal anger is a healthy emotional response when I'm in danger or when love is violated. And we've talked about that. So in healthy anger, it happens occasionally, not constantly. That's an important distinction. It's triggered by very clear situations where love is violated or I'm in danger. Unhealthy anger, it's just being triggered all the time. And I don't even see clear indicators of what triggered it anymore. With healthy anger, I can calm down within a reasonable amount of time afterwards. While I'm angry, I can communicate without becoming abusive. And I can still stay connected while I'm angry. So that's important to understand, whereas an unhealthy, I can't. And then anger that's healthy then doesn't do damage in a relationship. It's actually helping solve problems in a relationship. It's not tearing down, it's leading to resolving. And then if I step over a line a little bit, I can reflect afterwards and apologize, own my part, So that's healthy anger. Unhealthy anger, it's getting unhealthy when it's becoming frequent, out of control, or hard to control, starting to harm others, growing in intensity. So the frequency of outbursts is increasing. The frequency of irritability and being annoyed is increasing. You start to see reactions to small little things that are over the top. And then once you feel anger building, it's harder and harder to control the impulses of anger. And then you start to see increases. You go from kind of talking intensely to talking loudly to yelling to screaming to starting to insult more and more to threatening people to getting aggressive. So there's just this escalation that is happening. And then the anger just lingers for hours and even days afterwards, and you just replay it over and over in your mind. And then you start having people don't want to be friends with you anymore. You start losing jobs. You make scenes in public. All of that begins to cause problems in your life. And you just blame everybody for everything. You don't take responsibility for your own anger. So that's unhealthy anger. So a simple rule of thumb: anger's a problem when it hurts people, it happens too often, it becomes uncontrollable, and it causes repeated problems in life. So what are the warning signs that anger is escalating to a dangerous place? That's what I want us to get a sense of. So things to look at in yourself, that this anger of mine is growing to become a problem, a serious issue for me. So number one, if you start to see a tendency in yourself when anger is building, always blame somebody else. To rarely, if ever, take responsibility for that anger for your part. So you make me angry. It's your fault. If you didn't do that, I wouldn't be angry. If that's happening, that's an important indicator that something's happening internally in you to justify this increased amount of anger. The secondly is look for those escalations. So small arguments that quickly become big arguments where you raise your voice, you start yelling, you start throwing insults, you start becoming intimidating, you start giving threats, you start escalating physically. And so now you're hitting things, throwing things, you start poking a person, and that can escalate for many people to physically hitting a person. Then look for intimidation type tactics that begin to happen. So you don't resort to physical violence, but you start to stand really close to a person during arguments and posture and get in their space and try to be intimidating. You slam doors, you punch walls, you break objects, all of that to display this scariness, create fear in the other person. That's all to be intimidating. That's dangerous. And then look for signs of growing jealousy and possessiveness. So now I want to control you so that you can't talk to your friends, you can't talk to your family. I now accuse you of cheating, though I don't have any evidence. I accuse you of looking at somebody else and desiring somebody else when I don't have any evidence. I start to monitor your activities. I go through your phone. I check the odometer. I get angry at you every time you talk to somebody else. All of that is our danger signs. And then I try to convince you that you don't need your parents, you don't need your friends, all you need is me. Those are huge signs that my anger is being fueled by shame, that is thinking the only solution is if you give me your 100% attention, 100% devotion, you do exactly what I want, then my anger will be solved. And you must adore me constantly, agree with everything I do, and only want me. That's a terrible solution. It doesn't work. But when you're in an angry state, that seems like a good solution. That can even go beyond the controlling behavior gets amped up to now you try to control what they wear, the decisions they make, who they see, how much time they're on the phone, how much time they watch TV, what kind of music they listen to. The control freakness starts to happen. And then you realize you're getting out of control and you start to apologize, but nothing changes. The apology is just to try to ease your own conscience, get them to forgive you and welcome you back. But then nothing changes. You apologize, you promise it never will happen again, but then the same patterns keep happening. You try to go back to this being sweet, a honeymoon period, but then as tensions start to build again, stress starts to build, it's only a matter of time till your anger comes out again, your abusive behavior, all of that comes out again. And every time you go through this cycle, each time you get to that explosion point, it gets worse. It gets intensified. Another indicator for many is now when they start to lash out, when the anger starts coming out, there's no empathy afterwards. It's like, yeah, you deserved it. Yeah, too bad you got hurt. I don't really care. You dismiss their feelings. You say you're just too sensitive. You laugh at them for how they're responding. You're not owning the impact of your anger. You don't care anymore about the hurt. You just want to focus on, but you hurt me. And you go into victim status. So if those signs are in your life, please get help. Because when those signs are happening, you might think you can control it, but it is building. It's going to get more and more intense. It's going to escalate more and more until some serious stuff happens. So please, if you see those signs, it is pointing to something that is getting out of control. It is pointing to huge underlying issues. This is no longer just anger. Anger is now a symptom of other deep issues that need to be resolved. And I hope you will get help.